All right. Well, welcome everyone. We are on day 9 already of our membership drive for charter members. I am still getting my tech situated a little bit, so pardon me while I move screens around and do things like that. We are here today with Kathleen Gage and Mike Young, who are both founding members of the Sage Circle Alliance, and I am Meryl Fury, co-founder of same organization, Sage Circle Alliance. I'm also president and CEO of Plant-Based Nutrition Movement, and it is nothing but joy to be here with everyone today. Today we are really excited to have a conversation about the effect humans have on the planet, and that's sometimes not a fun conversation, and we're here to talk about the positives and how we can make a difference. And Mike Young is somebody who digs deeply into that subject. I think it's part of why he's on the planet this time around, is to keep us all aware of that. And Kathleen is certainly no novice at that either. We all have our points of view and our interest and passion around that. So let's get started.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and start. When you said she's no novice at that, I thought you were talking about my age, because I'm going to hit 70 next week. So
it's like, I don't talk about
it's well, the big 7-0, I cannot believe it. It's like, how did that happen? But one thing I do know, I'll just kind of defer over to the way I eat, the plant-based lifestyle, which has made a huge difference. But, it occurred to me, I remember back when I was probably about 10, 12 years old, my dad, my family, we were driving to Lake Tahoe, and we were going through the mountains, and there was a car in front of us that literally threw out this big bag of trash. And my dad, I just saw a reaction in him, and he actually stopped, picked it up, followed the car. It was a couple of young ladies. He followed the car and he stopped them, and he took the bag of trash and he said, "I think you dropped something." And that was kind of my first exposure to being proactive with something that actually was going against the very core of taking care of our planet. So with that, I do live in a small town in Oregon. I have a small sanctuary, is the way V. Lynn Hawkins, my business associate, has described it. And until then, I never really thought of that. We have horses, we have chickens. We just adopted another chicken recently. We have dogs and a cat, and they're all rescues, all but one. And what I realize is I've been tasked with taking care of the environment by taking care of the animals, and also what I do in business. So with that, I'm going to defer and pass it over to Mike.
All right. Well, yeah, this is definitely an exciting topic. It's something that touches everyone, I do believe, because it considers the fact that nature's a balance, and this is our nonprofit over here, plantbaseddiet.org. We focus on plant-based lifestyles and really optimizing health. And what we've learned over the years is that the more you optimize your health, the more you optimize the environment. And in fact, the only way to do the best you can for taking care of planet Earth is to do the best you can with your health. We don't see that it's possible any other way. And like I mentioned, it's a balance. So I think it's a journey too. Taking care of the environment is a journey for everyone, because once you start to make the connection between what you're doing and is that destructive to the environment, then you have to start doing something about it. For instance, like, let's just say a concept like, well, obviously mining is destructive, but it gives us some really good things. Transportation. All forms of transportation cause environmental harm. So where do you fall on that scale? And of course, there's human health, which, from our point of view, our organization is a 100% vegan organization. And we've actually coined a term recently, which we just added to our website, called sustainable veganism. And the way we define that is, well, the exact verbiage is on our website, but I can tell you the gist of it, which is basically that you want to do as much as possible and practicable to take care of your health, because that means you can help the animals even more. That's a sustainable way to practice veganism. But there's so much along this whole continuum, and I look forward to discussing that with you both today.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you. I remember when I was very much younger, there was a whole campaign around littering, right? Don't be a litter bug. There were trash cans like along the road, and it had these little placards on it that would say, don't be a litter bug, or, you know, pick up your litter, or whatever it would say. And somewhere along the line, that whole campaign ended. I don't know when. It just sort of stopped. I don't see those kinds of signs. I don't see that happening anymore. And I notice there's more and more trash along the highway. Um, and at the same time, just like you're saying, Mike, if you're not taking care of your body, you're not taking care of the planet in a way, right? Our body is very similar, or the way we manage our body can be very similar to the way we manage the rest of our environment. So, I just see this mounting, this growing blindness to the trash and the accumulation of debris and all of that, and it's happening in the human body as well. So I'm going to just diverge a minute. This past weekend, I was at a retreat center, and the retreat was very much about honoring the feminine, is what it was about. Was honoring the feminine, and the people there, they were all women actually. We're talking about the importance of taking care of your body, but I'm going to tell you there was such a huge disconnect between what they were eating, which was stuff like biscuits and gravy and bacon and eggs and fruit by the foot and cotton candy in a plastic container and all kinds of stuff, smoking, all various forms of smokables. Lots of different kinds
I like the way you put that.
Smokables.
Oh my goodness. And it just struck me like, okay, the human as a resident of the planet has become so disconnected from the environment, and so disconnected from our own bodies, and not aware of the absolute parallel between how we treat ourselves and how we treat the planet.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
just fascinating, very graphic, right in my face kind of example that I was just dealing with this past weekend. And for me, it was a bit of an ordeal to be
Right.
in that environment and being with this group of incredibly bright, certainly they're, intelligent group of people, but
Yeah.
just really disconnected, really disconnected.
Well, you said
Well,
intelligent, right? I mean, to us, this is an education issue, right?
mhm.
Uh, it's an education that most people were never given is the problem.
Mm.
I like what you said there, Mike, because it truly is about educating people. I recently was called to do jury duty, and it was mostly a sit and wait situation. And to entertain myself, I actually looked at statistics. And I know that about 75% of the adult population in the United States, and even in children, but 75% are either overweight or obese, a direct result of what they put in their body. So the room was filled with about 200 people, and I actually started counting, and it was about 75%. And I was like,
Wow.
this is so interesting. And then for snacks, they brought out cookies and junk food, basically. And I met a woman that we went to lunch together, and I said, I'm looking for a vegan option. And she goes, well, there's a vegetarian restaurant. I said, there's a difference between vegan and vegetarian. And then we talked about the vegan diet. And I explained that it's not a diet, it's a philosophy, it's a way of life. It's about taking care of the earth. But something you said, Mike, struck me as interesting about when we take care of our health, we truly take care of the planet. And I was thinking about the number of people as a direct result of what they consume are on prescription drugs. Now, some prescription drugs are needed, they're necessary, but probably 90 to 95% are a result of self-induced diseases. And when you think of when these people pass away, and I think of my own mother when she passed, that we went through and cleaned up her home, the amount of drugs in her home, and these were legal prescription drugs, that most people would flush down the toilet. that harms the environment. It harms the animals. And what we did is we actually took it to a location that they dispose of it properly. So there's things that people don't even realize they're doing to the environment simply by the day-to-day actions they take. And I know, Mike, that your organization does so much. And you promised before we started that you were going to share some things that most people aren't even aware of.
Yes, actually, let me touch on 3 of the points that both of you just brought up, and then I'll mention the new information, which is probably new for people. Prescription medication. It gets into the environment whether you flush it down the toilet or not, because it comes out of your urine and your feces. Okay, there is no getting it out of the environment once you're taking it, so you need to stop taking it, and you need to set up a life where you don't need to take it. So another point that you made was about both of you talking about unhealthy lifestyles, and that's leading to disease. We've discovered, and we convey a lot to people, that according to the World Health Organization, 7 out of 10 reasons of top reasons for dying are what they call NCDs, or non-communicable diseases. A non-communicable disease is something you don't catch from someone else. It's lifestyle. And in most cases, it's modifiable, meaning preventable, haltable, and reversible. So there you go. If 7 out of 10 of the top reasons for dying are self-inflicted, just like you said, most of the reasons, probably 75% at least, right, that I can verify with statistics. You may have better ones. You probably do. This is an education issue. People need to learn this. Now, another thing we've done in Florida, because we're in Florida a lot, we're headquartered in Florida. They have a big crisis down there with algae blooms in the water. Mm-hmm. Turns out that one of the things that's going on down there, if anyone watching from Florida, say hi, give us a like or whatever. It's not such a likable thing. So much of the problem, not all of it, it could be animal agriculture, because we all know animal agriculture runoff gets into the water, right? And it ruins the environment. They're not processing the feces like they do for humans. It's required, either a septic system or a municipal wastewater treatment facility. Animal agriculture doesn't have any of those requirements. So animal agriculture is bad, but also plants, if done wrong. In Florida, a lot of the big problem is sugar, big sugar. And by the way, is it ever good to eat processed sugar? No. So this is what I'm saying. Like, when you start to optimize your own health, you're going to optimize the environment, because we got to put big sugar out of business by drying up the demand for their product. And then they will not produce it, because the problem is, in an area where it's being produced is traditionally wetlands. They've been given special permission to produce it there, and then they back pump their water, which is non-organic water, into a lake that discharges into the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean, causing all kinds of algae blooms along the way. This is just one example, okay? And the animal agriculture, another example. All these things are related. It's all connected. Life, just as we talked about, most of the diseases are non-communicable, meaning preventable, haltable, and reversible. That means life's a balance. The earth is a balance. So So there's a whole, a spectrum of what you can do depending upon where you are in your journey to help the environment. But if you could do the ultimate, and this is what you asked me about. What are you involved in, Mike, that people don't know about? It's the ultimate project that I would say. So we can provide something where we're discussing this here, meeting you right where you are, to our communities in Ecuador. We have a house that we built, my wife and I, in a community called Terra Frutis. It's in Ecuador. It's a totally vegan community. It's in the Amazon rainforest. Now, what does this mean? Why are they there? Is it just cool because you're in the tropics, you can grow tropical fruit? Well, yes, but there's many advantages. Let's take, for instance, another part of the environment. What is one of the biggest, most destructive things out there for the environment? If you do the research, I've found, believe it or not, it's the chemicals that are in things that air condition or cool things down. Did you guys know that?
No, not at all.
Gas. Yeah, if you look online, it's one of the most pressing issues for the environment. So what's the ultimate? If this is one of the most destructive things, and it's in every refrigerator, every air conditioner, every car air conditioner, I can go on and on. Anything that uses a cooling effect uses this chemical. It's a chemical process that the chemical transfers heat from one place to another, but the chemical is destructive. And by the way, all chemicals are destructive, but this one's just incredibly destructive. And most people live in a place where you need air conditioning. Am I right? In the summertime, mm-hmm. Or your car needs air conditioning. Well, what if you didn't need that? What if you moved to a place where you didn't need that? That's where these communities are in Ecuador. We don't need heat. We don't need air conditioning. My house, my wife and I built our tiny home. It's called La Casa Más Alta, and you can find it on our website. If you search our website under intentional communities, it just has screens. Okay. So you're in this community, 100% vegan. Oh, and by the way, they're better than organic, because we are all for organic, but we want truly zero chemicals, because we understand chemicals as labor-saving devices for humans. We can do more with less. We can do it faster because of chemistry, chemicals. They do not benefit the earth in any way that I'm ever aware. They do not benefit your health. In fact, do the exact opposite. So these communities in Ecuador use no chemicals in growing their plants. They're growing all over. Terra Frutis is about 400 acres in size, and there are fruit and vegetables, mostly fruits actually, growing everywhere. And it's in Ecuador. This area of the planet has 12 hours of sunlight every single day. So you can grow outside all day long. You don't have to do any indoor farming. You don't have to worry about seasons or harvesting or preserving or anything like that. Because I actually believe, I cannot prove it, but I think that humans probably used to live near the equator way back when. And I think that animal agriculture was the result of humans migrating away from the equator and needing a food source in the wintertime, needing a system to develop this. I also believe that that's how alcohol came about, and adding salt to food, because we didn't have refrigerants back in the day. We had to preserve using salt or alcohol. So
let me interrupt you a second. I have a question. Right?
Yes.
So in the world of growing food, of course, I live in Wisconsin. I wish I was closer to tropical areas, but I'm not. So the growing season is super short here.
Yes.
Super short, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about growing food and, you know, Ecuador having an ideal climate and all that stuff, how do you see people who don't have the honor and thrill of living in a place around the equator?
Right.
How do you see that working then?
That was my question too.
Yes. Okay. Well, it's a very complex, complicated thing, because we got to do the best we can with where we are.
Mhm.
Right. And I'm in the same place. I'm not living in Ecuador all the time, even though we built a tiny house. I'm trying to enlighten people and expose them to what we're doing, so that they can either, one, do better where they are, or two, start thinking about moving somewhere where they could do the best they possibly can. You know, so that's what I would say. Do the best you can where you are. I mean, let's say, in terms of what you can do, you want to eat organic produce that's locally grown, ideally, right? But it's hard to do because it may not be able to be grown outdoors. We also believe that plants grown outdoors are the best way. I believe there's no substitute for the sun. I mean, people will tell you there's a substitute. Is it equivalent? No. There's nothing more powerful than the sun. So I want the sun to be growing my plants. I want my plants to harness that sun energy and deliver it to me. So growing indoors is the second best thing if you want fresh produce that's not brought in from somewhere else. But it also has its advantages living somewhere in the United States. Like I'm talking to you right now from Northern Virginia. And you know what? I have some really good sources for pineapples. I love pineapples. And I will tell you, I'm eating more pineapples here right now than I am in Ecuador, because they're hard to grow. You only get one pineapple per plant, you know, the whole life of the plant. And but thanks to the miracle of transportation and farms that are dedicated to growing pineapples in either Hawaii or Central America, mostly Central America right now, I can eat more pineapples than I can ever do based on finding local sources that have ripe pineapples. Now that's another thing. That's another that's another facet of this. But yeah, I mean, so our projects in Ecuador are really to open people's minds to what's possible, because there's more factors too that I even probably have enough time to talk about here. It would be an entire video, but let me just tell you a couple other things. That these places in Ecuador have to be a certain spot. They have to be Eastern Ecuador in the Amazon rainforest, where you don't have to irrigate. That's another thing. Irrigation causes a lot of environmental problems. Taking water from the ground to irrigate causes a lot. Think of, you know, a place that you don't need to irrigate. That's where we are in Ecuador. A place where you don't need to, you know, use chemicals of any kind. And another thing is, here's the biggest thing for people, okay? I know this affects everybody out there, unless you've owned your house for at least 10 years. And you guys probably have. I have too. I'm 54 years young. I've owned for a long time, thankfully. the cost of living is outrageous in most places in the United States right now. Absolutely unattainable for many people in the younger generations. So they're going to need to look at options. They're probably thinking, if you're out there and you never owned a home before, that you may never be able to own a home. Well, let me just say that the places in Ecuador that we are the cheapest places you can possibly live on planet Earth right now, at least until too many people find out about it.
So I have another question. Okay, so just by weird chance, I have the opportunity to work with children, which is a lovely, lovely, lovely thing to be able to do.
Yes.
And this past month in April, our subject was Earth Month, right? And we wound up talking about the rainforest and the impact that people have on the rainforest all over the world, right? Not just the one in South America, Ecuador, Brazil, but all over. This is something that is very disturbing for children to hear, that there's a climate crisis, that there's, the planet is not being protected, that we're doing things that actually harm the planet or other species. How do, when you start talking about your eco village in Ecuador and you're saying very emphatically that it has to be in the rainforest for all these wonderful reasons, how do you respond to people who have yeah buts, or that doesn't sound right, or that sounds like you're encroaching on virgin rainforest when you talk about
Excellent. I mean, first of all, the reason why these communities are there is because people went by and made a list of features they'd like to see and how many boxes they could check off. And these areas just check off the most possible boxes, including affordability. Now, the rainforest destruction, yeah, it's a real thing. And if you go to Latin America, you realize that they have a very meat-centered culture, maybe even more than the US. Okay. If you look around, including in the rainforest, you'll see livestock grazing everywhere, even without fences. Most properties don't have fences. There's livestock out grazing anywhere that's not too steep in the mountains, because we're in the mountains, by the way, too. We're not on the low areas that tend to flood. We're at more like the headwaters of the Amazon River. And there's animal agriculture everywhere. So these communities have actually taken land that was formerly used for animal grazing, animal agriculture, and repurposed it into permaculture and food forests. And I do believe that is the future. That is what we need to do, because when you hear about destruction, you hear about not only are they leveling forests that were forests so that animals could graze, they're also leveling it so they can grow soybeans or corn to feed either humans or animals. Either way, it's unsustainable. So what we need to do is we need to create an adaptive reuse of the land, which is what we're doing.
Okay. Thank you.
Meryl, that was my question. Is like, okay, this is in a perfect world, this is how it would be. And yet I know that I've had conversations with people who their health is down the drain. I mean, literally, I have one friend who just had open heart surgery. He's had heart problems for a few years. He almost lost his foot to diabetes, was going blind. And he asked, what can I do? So I would share the information about going plant-based. And it was like, oh, that's too hard. And it's like, what's harder, changing your diet or losing your foot? And so as I look around and I see, not to be a Debbie Downer, but we live in a world where a lot of people are so apathetic, and they say, oh, I can't make a difference. So how do we address that? I mean, I'm kind of playing the host role here on
you're
this.
You're doing great.
Yeah, thank you.
I think all good.
Okay, where we live, we have a well. We live actually out in a rural community, and putting any chemicals into the ground, it goes into the well water and it impacts the animals and on and on. So I do not use any chemicals at all in my garden. And I have one garden that is so full of weeds. Well, I'm on my hands and knees picking those things out. Yeah. And some of them I keep because they're beautiful. But the fact is that a lot of people don't want to put the effort in, because they say, well, I'm not going to be around. And what legacy that we're leaving our children, or the redlining areas, the areas that are food deserts. And there are very real issues that we deal with. So Mike, I'm curious, what can you recommend to people who they know they can do something, but they don't feel like their actions are going to make that much of a difference? How do you address that with people?
Are you talking about the climate or their health, or both?
I'm talking both. I'm talking about just making changes, because, when I go to the grocery store, for example, and I've had people criticize me for being a vegan to go to a store that sells meat. It's like, okay, we have to live with what we have. It's like you can always find something wrong with the vegan lifestyle, like we kill little mice and bugs and insects for our. It's like, give me a break. Okay, I get so frustrated with that. It's like we're doing what we can with what we've been given, but what are some simple steps that people can take, given that they may live in a big city, given that they may live in an area that they don't have the resources and they financially cannot pick up and move. They don't own a home, so they have no equity.
Number one biggest thing is to surround yourself with like minds. We all become like the 5 people we hang around with the most, right? Nobody can escape it. Even if you claim to be able to fight that off, it's not possible. Okay, it's like a life axiom as far as I'm concerned. So like when we started our organization in 2014, I started with online communities, and we still, if you go to our website, you'll see online communities. We have local communities in areas that we spend a lot of time. So for us, we have, of course, worldwide communities, which are still valuable. But we also have local ones in the DC, Northern Virginia area, Raleigh, North Carolina, and lots of parts of Florida. So that's why I did that. I started the organization because I knew I needed that, because nobody I knew was vegan in 2014. And, like you said, I mean, you do the best you can, but if everyone's pulling you in another direction with their peer pressure, you need to generate some positive peer pressure. So that's, this is where social media comes in. And I mean proper use of social media, because social media gets a bad rap. Most people say it's a net negative, which I agree, because that's how people use it. Most people use it to consume content. They don't use it to produce content or to network. If they use it for that, then it's the most valuable thing you can possibly spend your time on. And you have to be purposeful with getting to know people that are in your space that you want to be in, your lifestyle that you want to lead. Like we have our own cruise that we do every year now called the Health Optimization Cruise. People can go on that, spend a whole week meeting new people and eating only this healthy vegan food that we define as being healthy. So that's another opportunity to do that for anybody. And that comes out of the United States. So, but yeah, that also highlights one of the most important things about the projects in Ecuador is that you are surrounding yourself fully with only people that are going to challenge you to get better at your healthy lifestyle.
Right. Well, you mentioned community, and I'm going to defer this over to Meryl about the Sage Circle Alliance, because you're a founding member and I'm a founding member, and I sit on the marketing committee. What was your reason for joining that particular community? And Meryl, do you want to add anything to that?
No, let's start with that. That's great.
So you're asking me, why did I join Sage Circle Alliance?
Yeah, because you talked community, and that's really how it's framed, is that we are a community.
Exactly. That Sage Circle Alliance, I feel like, is the next level of what I just discussed, because I'm getting myself involved and spending time with people who are established in this space of plant-based lifestyle, health, compassion, taking care of the environment. That's who I want to be around. I want to be around people like that more. And then for us being together, there's new opportunities, synergies that you could never have imagined that are going to take place and already have taken place by joining the community.
Excellent.
Yeah, totally.
And that's really why I joined, because one of the things that I decided in my business a few years ago, I've had my business 30 years. I'm a marketing expert, and I'm a strategist. I help with visibility. As a matter of fact, my publisher lives in Ecuador, Lynn Klippel. She, I don't know if you know Lynn, but she's a fabulous woman, fabulous. But anyway, the whole idea of what I wanted to do with my business, I made a conscious choice to only work with vegan businesses and plant-based businesses. And I had people who were not in this space warning me that I was making a huge mistake. They said, oh, no, not enough business. It's like there's millions of people who are vegan, and there are plenty of businesses that need help in raising visibility. But I was cautioned that it was going to be a mistake. Best choice I made for a couple of reasons. One is, financially, it was a good choice. Now, initially, it was kind of getting my bearings and my footing, but also in alignment. I believe that in business, we have to be aligned with what we're doing. If we profess to believe one thing, but then we're taking money from somewhere else that goes against the very core of who we are, there's going to be a real disconnect there. So for me, it was really about aligning my business values with my personal values, and with the whole vegan movement, because, making the choice of what I do on a daily basis. And I will tell you, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It's like I'm a plant-based eater, but I got to tell you that Ben and Jerry, they're two guys I like that have their non-dairy ice cream. And honestly, the other day I was in the store and I was like, do I get it? No, you want to eat healthy. Is this moving you closer to your goal? No, it's not. I mean, I was having this discussion and people around me were probably like, who is this woman? Why is she talking to herself? But quite seriously, it's like there are things, temptations that come up. And I love what you said about surround yourself with the people that will support you in moving closer to what you want as an ideal life, if you will.
I would add to that too. So in my life outside, or life before, I call it, I was a nurse. I'm still a nurse. I still have my license. I just don't do bedside nursing. I don't do traditional style anymore. I get to lead a nonprofit and I get to hang around with fabulous people like Kathleen and Mike, right? But what I notice is that when I was actively being a nurse, it was very, very difficult to be in the medical setting, to have an understanding. I'm not going to say I know everything, by never will I ever say that, right? But to know enough to know that the traditional American style sick care system is not there to really make people healthy. That's not the point. We do an amazing job with the acute illnesses, right? The pneumonias and the meningitises and the, different things like that. Great. Bacterial illnesses, heart attacks, things like that. But when it comes to chronic care, we fail dismally. Right.
Yeah.
So to be around now in an environment where I am more aligned with with my values, what's important to me, how I see better ways to take care of people, in particular, like I said, working with children, encouraging them to eat healthy food, giving them blueberries and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and whatever else, and having them test it out and learn, oh, it's not so bad, oh, I can eat this, right? Way more in alignment than what I was doing for 30 years as a nurse. Yeah, really powerful to be around like minds and like missioned people.
Well, that's, I also wrote a book for our organization, our nonprofit called Live to 150. One of the things I talk about is life purpose, goals, all these things. Like if this, like kind of like both of you were saying, if you're in a business or a career where some things just don't jive with you, in fact, they go against your core beliefs, there's always going to be some type of a compromise there. And it's not good for your mental health,
right?
At the very least, right? So yeah, I totally agree. Whenever you can move into a space that's fully in alignment with what you want to do, even if there's risk, do it. Because now more than ever, everybody has so many opportunities. The Sage Circle Alliance is giving anyone in this space more opportunities. So it's just, more chances that your venture is going to succeed. And that's what we need. We need to let people know who are in this space that this is the future. And we're going to make sure that we do everything we can so that your business succeeds.
Absolutely. Right. And here's an example. It's like when I initially it was plant-based because I didn't want to be a crazy vegan. Now my company is called Vegan Visibility Productions, Veganpreneur Revolution. So I kind of go to extremes, but when I did really get that, oh, I am vegan, it was about 6 months in. I'm at the grocery store walking by the meat department and I stopped in my tracks. I had a visceral response to what I saw and how I saw people being so unconscious of throwing stuff in their cart. And I was just like heartbroken. And from that point forward, I actually met with my financial planner because, when you've worked for companies years ago, I worked for GTE Health Systems and had money, some stock investments. And I went to my financial planner. I said, I want to go through every company that I'm investing in, that I have money in, and I want to pull it out of companies that are harming the environment and do not support people's health. And he goes, but these are money makers. It's like, you don't get it. It's like, I don't want to. And that's one thing that people can do, is you can look at where your money is being invested. If you're working for a company, you can delegate and decide, where's that going to go. I had somebody call us recently who was suggesting that we invest in Boeing, because Boeing lost a lot of money recently due to the windows popping out and all the problems they're having. And I said, oh no, I'm not going to invest in a war machine. I'm just not going to do it. I'm a pacifist at heart, and I think a lot of vegans are. And I was like, yes, I could make a boatload of money if I put X amount of money into some stocks and it goes up really fast and then I cash out. I can make a lot of money, but can I live with myself?
At what cost? At what cost?
At what cost? So those are the things that, let's, if you don't mind, here I go again, Meryl. It's like, okay, hi, this is Kathleen Gage. I am the host today. And
you can be the host. I will hand it over to you right now. There you go. You got it.
And I just get really excited because there's so much information that needs to go out there. And we are at a place of urgency. If people think that we have time to wait, they're sadly mistaken. It's a deadly mistake. And so with that, I would love to have some conversation about some of the types of people that are involved in the Sage Circle Alliance, and also what we as individuals can do, simple steps that we can do if we're not in a position to move to Ecuador right now. Because trust me, we've thought of that. When Lynn went there and she was saying how wonderful the life is, it's like, oh, but we have the horses, we have the chickens, we have all that. And that's part of our give back. So with that in mind, what are some simple steps that people can take to start moving towards a more sustainable lifestyle that can contribute to the solution rather than the problem? And let's talk about some of the members of the Sage Circle Alliance, so people know that this is actually a great organization to join.
Yeah. Well, I can talk to, speak to some of the members that we have. So we have a group of people who are, let's say, medical professionals, right? So we've got MDs, who are dedicated to plant-based lifestyle. They're, I think, all of them lifestyle medicine practitioners, and they may be diplomats of ACLM, American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So they're all strongly invested in making sure people understand at least the 6 pillars of health as defined by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine: nutrition and movement and stress management and non-toxic relationships, healthy relationships, a big part of it. There are also, so those are MDs. There are also nurses, me being one. There are also diabetic educators, right? So there's this whole section of us, a whole subset of us that are healthcare professionals in different kinds of ways. There are also coaches, right, who are not specifically trained as medical professionals, but they're great people, very knowledgeable in supporting healthy lifestyle behaviors. We also have digital geniuses, marketing people,
Kathleen.
like Kathleen and Lynn. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh, shucks, stop.
Seriously, where would we be without you guys? I can't even imagine.
Thank you very much.
I've learned so much from you already. Like I said, I know more about Kathleen than she knows about me because I watched her masterclass that she did.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I think people get access to it when they become a member, don't they? The masterclass?
I believe they do.
Yeah, and it's chock full of great information on how to market your business. So please go ahead.
So there are digital marketing people, and there are social media experts. There's website designers. There are authors, people who are, we're just here to write books and help people understand the connection between food and the health of the planet, in particular. Or there are people who are more, they're authors, and they are looking at the spiritual side of life. So the connection between your physical health, emotional health, and your spiritual life. There are just so many. There are people who are, they're growing their own communities in their own neighborhoods, right? Mm-hmm. They're holding potluck meals, and they're encouraging their literally their next door neighbor to adopt a healthier lifestyle. There are those of us who have support groups of some kind, like Paul and I have support group type structure. Paul is the co-founder, my plant-based BFF, as we like to call each other. And he runs the plant-based nutrition support group, which is the longest running, oldest, I believe, online community that has 15 or so, maybe 12 different support groups that meet every month online, and it's ready access. It is a membership, so there's a small fee involved per month. But so that's really who's in the alliance. Anybody, any entrepreneur, any thought leader, any change maker, any action taker who is about making a difference for human health, animal compassion, and the health of the planet. That's really what we're here for. And the goal is to cause, dare I say, force a paradigm shift in how we view.
Accelerate.
Thank you. Accelerate is a lovely word for it. Thank you. Force sounds so impolite, but to accelerate the movement so that we can make a difference in these three sectors for human health, animal health, and planetary health.
Wonderful.
Because just like you said, Kathleen, I'm of the mind that the situation is urgent and dire. Right. We don't have time. We don't have time to play anymore.
We don't. And one of the things I love about Sage Circle Alliance, besides you being one of the leaders of the organization, Meryl, and Paul, he's my brother from another mother for sure.
Yeah, honestly.
And meeting amazing people like Mike, who's just out there rocking the world. What I love is that we do have an area where we list podcasts that many of us are hosting. Myself and V. Lynn, we have the Veganpreneur Revolution show. We have an area where people can go and look at shows that need guests. And I'll tell you, as a host myself, and also I've been a guest on hundreds of shows, finding those opportunities can be very challenging because it's a really crowded space. But then you have a group of people that we're all committed to the same thing. And it's like, oh, why don't you come on my show and share your message, and I'll go on your show. That's one thing. We also have an area for authors. If you've got a book that you've had published and you want to get more traction from it, we're actually planning some things around how to do a proper book launch. I actually have been an Amazon bestseller many times over, and I'm not talking about just in a category. I'm talking about thousands of copies sold in a 24-hour period. There is a strategy behind that. We've got incredible authors like Dr. Joel Furman. We've got Dr. Will Tuttle. We've got, just amazing people in this organization, people that do not have that kind of name recognition, but they are making waves in their own way within the community. We've also got places that if you want to post your blog content, you can do that. So we're giving opportunity to people. And the reason I say we is because this is a community, but there is opportunity for you to have your work showcased. And I will tell you, as a marketer for many, many decades, I mean, I actually can say I probably have about 45 years worth of experience in marketing. I've been in broadcast media. I was in the marketing department for GTE Health Systems. I've had my business for 30 years. I've been a speaker for 30 years, a paid professional speaker for 30 years. We have a speakers bureau within the organization. But I will tell you that as business owners, if you're looking to get visibility, what better than have a whole group of people who are raising you up? And that's really where this movement is getting a lot of traction. We're working together to raise up and shine the light on a very important message.
That's right. So true. So true.
It's like a super powerful industry specific networking group almost, right? I mean,
yes.
And so, thanks for saying that. It's got so many different facets. It kind of functions like a chamber of commerce, a little bit like a Rotary Club, a little bit like a business alliance, a little bit like just so many different things, right? So many a networking group, so many different things. One thing, my dog is downstairs scratching at the door. I have to go let her in. You guys please carry on.
Okay.
I want to comment on something you said earlier, Meryl. You were mentioning all the doctors. Something that we're really big into, especially more recently, is recommending that people see a doctor that is board certified in lifestyle medicine. I know Meryl mentioned lifestyle medicine. That's, to us, is the key, that doctor is enlightened, that doctor has the new knowledge that was not given to them in medical school,
Right.
which will help with all of these non-communicable diseases. So I'm so thankful that there's quite a few of them already in the Sage Circle Alliance, and I'm sure there'll be more.
You
And
know, I gotta just interject right there because Mike, you are so spot on. I actually this year I changed insurance companies. There's a lot that's going on with insurance companies, and the company that I went with, they seemed like they had a lot of options for people my age, and and the one that I was with, a lot of doctors were leaving because it was turning more into a pressure cooker than anything. And I went to an insurance meeting to find out all about my benefits. And there were probably 200, 250 people there. And the woman to my left, she and I struck up a conversation, and they were talking about prescription drug benefits. And she said, yeah, I need that because I'm on 22 prescription drugs. And I'm like, 22? And the woman to my other side said, yeah, I'm on 5 and I really need this benefit. And they're like, how many are you on? And I said, actually none. And they're like, you're not on any drugs? And it's like,
go
no.
see a doctor fast.
Yeah, I know. You better hurry and go get that script. But what was so interesting is when they said, does anybody have questions? I, of course, raised my hand and I said, do you have anything for well care for people that don't drink, don't smoke? Because I haven't drank in 40 years. I actually was one of those people that I had a little bit of a problem, big problem with that. And so 40 years ago, I made a decision to stop drinking, and I don't smoke. I stopped that when I was 40. And I said, what about, not eating meat and dairy? And you would have thought that I just pulled out a gun and I was going to shoot people. They were like, what? And so when we got our first newsletter, our printed newsletter in the mail, there was a healthy recipe that included dairy, it included meat, it included oil, it included salt. So I proceeded to go to my good friend ChatGPT and put together a letter. I had all the key points I wanted to cover. I put together about a 3-page letter that I sent to the president of that organization, that insurance company. And I said, as a plant-based lifestylist, I have to say that I really would like to see options available for those of us that would like recipes from your organization, but not including these items. Haven't heard back. I have not heard back at all. But it's so interesting because those are the little things that can make all the difference. But right now I'm looking for a doctor, and I've been looking for somebody who is a plant-based doctor, and I have not been able to find it. And that, to me, a woman my age, I need that. I want that. And the reason I'm the age I am and I'm so vibrant is because of those choices. And I don't want a doctor that's going to tell me, oh no, you need to have meat in your diet. It's like, oh no, you're very wrong. I do not.
Right. Well, actually, Kathleen, one of the questions you asked a little while ago is what would the average person do? All right. You asked me, and actually, I think you related to the environment, but I'm going to relate it to all of this.
Please do.
This is what I tell people. Like, for instance, I drive an electric car, which I actually do believe is probably a net positive for the environment, but that's a whole other discussion. But I tell people, if you are concerned about the environment and you want to do the biggest bang for your buck, okay, the most impact for the least amount of effort, just stop using and eating animal products. Don't even consider anything else. That is the number one biggest return with the least amount of effort.
Yeah, actually, in one of the research, some of the research I've done, there's a pretty well recognized body of information called Project Drawdown, right? Mm-hmm. And they talk about that there's several things people can do. Of course, they do list decreasing or eliminating the use of fossil fuels as one of the big ones. But right up there, shortly below that, is changing your diet to eat more plants. Absolutely. One of the things I would also add, you said, what can people do? For me, it always is teach your children. Yeah. This idea that children only eat this very narrow range of foods, right, which includes pepperoni pizza, chicken nuggets, boxed mac and cheese, sweetened cereals, sweetened drinks, and milk. That's about the range of it.
Well, and
Maybe.
then, of course, these kids are going to birthday parties. There's all this cake with dairy in it and super high fat
Well,
and everything else.
that's part of what the kids eat. Yeah, donuts, right, and candy. They eat that. Skittles. Don't forget the Skittles. Don't forget the chips and garbage, right? So if we could do anything,
Yeah.
if I could choose one thing that to make a difference in the health of the planet and the health of the people, it would be to require this type of education
Right.
about food. What is food? Why do we
Right.
eat? Where do you get your nutrients? What's a healthy diet? What is not food?
Yeah.
What
Well,
shouldn't you be
yeah.
eating, right?
That's so
Um,
important. Yeah. I
for
mean,
children.
I agree as early as possible so that
Mhm.
they don't have to they don't have to be relearning or
Right.
reprogramming later in life.
Yeah,
Right.
after they already have diabetes or high blood pressure or heart disease or something like that.
And I want to add to that thought because unfortunately I have to leave. I've got a client call coming up, but I want to add one last thought. When I've talked to parents about their children's diet and they go, "Oh, it's so hard. My children just pushes back and all that." And my question for people, and I'll leave you with this, is it harder to help them to eat healthy, or is it going to be harder when they're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, the onset of adult diabetes in a child that's 10 or 12 years old, which is happening more frequently, or that your child is going to have open heart surgery at the age of 10 or 12, which is happening more frequently? So ask yourself this question for the people out there. When you make decisions, and this is for everybody, any decision that we make on a daily basis, is it harder in that moment to say no and let me look at what I can do to help the environment, to help people's health, to help our spiritual well-being and our connection of mind, body, and soul? Or is it going to be harder when you have to go to the hospital and you have to ask yourself while you're in the waiting room, is there something I could have done differently? Yes, there is. And it happens with what's on the end of your fork. With that, I'm going to leave and I'm going to say thank you, Meryl. Very, very, always a pleasure. I just adore you. And Mike, truly a delight to hang out with you, and I look forward to hanging out with you more. And I'm going to leave, and I hope that I don't shut off this live stream because I did come in as one of the hosts. So if I do, forgive me, but have a great day and be blessed, everybody.
We'll say goodbye now.
Take care.
Okay. Let's see how it goes.
Oh, we're here. We're still here.
We're still here.
I'll see you live.
Right?
Right.
She did it. She did it.
You did. Meryl, I have something to add, something you said also earlier about the kids and teach them what is food. Something that, kind of an explanation we've been using more recently is that you have to combine a few things. You have to combine the fact that non-communicable disease shows up as the body's attempt to get your attention to tell you you're doing something wrong. And in almost every case, the non-communicable disease, the 7 out of 10 top reasons for dying, according to the World Health Organization, they are because you are eating something that the body doesn't recognize as food.
So give an example for people who are listening.
Well, let's see. Let's just talk about type 2 diabetes. That's been brought up here a few times, right? Now, I know there's not full agreement on this, but from what we've seen and talking with lifestyle medicine physicians ourselves, we have come to the conclusion that too high of a percentage of calories from fat actually causes insulin resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can go down a long rabbit hole from that, because most people do either have diabetes, pre-diabetes, some level of insulin resistance, or some other metabolic disease or autoimmune disease, all of which are probably related to eating too high of a percentage of calories from fat. But if you're someone who's gone and grown up in the United States, you probably never heard this before. Someone who's watching this right now. So the thing is, that's when you eat too rich of a diet. That's how I'd explain it to Americans, right? That's what happens. You develop all these non-communicable diseases, specifically metabolic diseases like type 2 diabetes or type 3, which is the next one, which is Alzheimer's and dementia. Mm-hmm. So those diseases are the result. Well, the way I explain it is, those diseases are like the equivalent of the check engine light on your car. You've obviously got something wrong with you. There's an alert going off. The question is, what's causing the issue? Now, in most medicine nowadays, the way it's been for decades now, that question is never even addressed. Or it's said that we don't know. We're never going to know. But someone who's board certified in lifestyle medicine, which is why that's what we recommend, they're going to say, wait a minute, something's probably causing this. What is it? What are you doing? What are you eating? That's the biggest thing. Usually in my experience in watching people and knowing how I react myself to eating food-like products, and there are plenty of vegan food-like products too, don't get me wrong. Most of them are animal products because food-like products generally have no fiber. They have a high percentage of calories from fat, and they have protein that causes cancer in humans, which basically describes every animal product out there. All three of those attributes. That's going to cause disease in humans unless you have won the genetic lottery and you're like a super person.
Right, right. You're an outlier of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah. But aside from that, you're going to develop disease by eating food-like products like that. So the question is, what is food? And you're doing amazing work. If you're explaining this to kids, that's what they need to hear.
Yeah. We are working really hard actually to get them to like develop a critical lens that they can look at what they're eating and think, is this food? Is this something that's going to keep me healthy? Is this something that's going to give me energy? Or is this something that's only going to give me an energy for the next 15 minutes? And then I'm going to be so tired and so wrung out, right? That it's a net loss in the long run.
Yeah, and then like you say, tired. I mean, it could be higher low glycemic index. That's another factor. Another factor is just gut health, right? That's a big thing nowadays. Is the condition of your gut bacteria and microbiome, and how that influences your mental health.
Right.
And of course, we all know. I think everyone agrees that fiber is that key ingredient that needs to be eaten 35 to 45 grams a day, which is only available from plants.
That's
and
right.
All animal products have zero fiber.
Right.
So like that tells you what food is right there.
Yeah.
I forgot the most important part. According to Harvard University, 95% of people don't get enough fiber every single day.
Right. In fact, so I heard a study a while back where anthropologists found like ancient human excrement, right? Frozen in the tundra somewhere. I don't know where they were, but they researched human excrement from, thousands of years ago and found that so long ago, humans were eating 100 to 225 grams of fiber per day.
There you go.
So for us to be only eating, let's say our goal is 35, and most of us are only getting something like maybe 10, grams. We are way, way, way deficient in the fiber. And the fiber is what feeds the microbiome. Microbiome is what keeps the immune system healthy and so many other things, right?
And cancer, colon cancer, right? I mean, the digestive system is a flow through system. If it doesn't get cleaned out,
that stuff sits.
Fiber cleans it out. And people who develop colon cancer, there's a backup of some type in that system.
Right, right. So the good news is with the Sage Circle Alliance, we all have this similar passion and this similar understanding about what is important and what's valuable. And that's not to say these are the only important things, but we pretty much all agree if you don't have your health, you're in a very difficult situation, right? What can you do?
The real wealth.
It is. If you don't have it, you're at a real loss. It's a deficit. So for anybody who is an entrepreneur, who is in the whole food plant-based realm, and if you are a change maker or a thought leader or an action taker, you want to be around people who are like-minded and like mission and who want to lift as we climb. That is our goal. Please check us out. Now let's see if I can find this. I can here, just because we have a few minutes left. I have magic access to this stuff. So you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. Check us out. Our YouTube channel is growing every time we do one of these. We post it on YouTube, as well as we have some amazing teasers in there. Even our digital marketing people and our designers and our social media people, we're all whole food plant-based, so they really get the message that we are trying to deliver. If you are interested in learning more about the Sage Circle Alliance, this is our website, sagecirclealliance.org. can go there and learn just about all there is. There are, I don't know, at least 6 or 7 different levels of membership. You can look at those and see which one fits your needs best or describes you most closely. You can go there, fill out an application, and that is a great thing, and I'm sure we'd be happy to accept you. One thing we are being pretty careful of, we want to vet everyone who is applying. So that's a little bit of a process, but not daunting at all.
Yeah, and I want to also mention that everything you're saying ensures that this is a not just a win-win, but a win-win-win, a win in every direction for everybody involved.
That's right. That's right. For the business owner, for anybody who's involved as far as a member goes, as well as for the health of the people, the health of the animals, and the health of the planet. Absolutely. On that note, Mr. Young, we have completed our hour. We are at the top of the hour. It's been great speaking with you. Always great to hear your enthusiasm and what you're up to now. You are one busy fellow.
Yeah, and you too. I'd take after you. You and Paul, and everyone else in the Sage Circle Alliance.
We are an active group. All right, Mike, you take care. We will talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.